Hello, I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com. I met up with professional wrestling legend and Fozzy frontman Chris Jericho. Here's the interview. I'm here with the Ayatollah of rock and roller himself. Thanks so much for joining us, man. How is Moongoose McQueen?
Dead.
He's dead.
Died 15 years ago.
When? How did this happen?
Bizarre gardening accident.
Oh my God! I wish I'd known. I'm so sorry. Is there anywhere I can send flowers?
To the Gardening Association, I'm sure.
So you guys are working on your 7th studio album. What can we expect from album number 7?
Kind of more along the lines of what we did on album number 6. Just very diverse, versatile type of record. Not really concerned with what the trends are, what's going on with other bands. Just kind of doing it our own way, and that's what's kind of brought us to this point where we're able to tour the world and tour with Slash and Kiss and Metallica and all these great bands we've been out with on this last tour. So there's a lot of momentum, and we just want to keep the ball rolling in that direction.
Is it going to be stuff from the new album on this tour?
It's not even that close to being written yet or done like that. We're just kind of thinking about what we want to do now. So this is kind of the end of the Do You Want to Start a War tour. Last 5 shows, actually. I think it'll end up being about 115 shows total, so these are the last 5. And it's been a great tour so far, so we're ready to finish it up on a high note and get ready to go in the studio probably about March or so.
Amazing. And when do you think the album will drop?
I think late summer, early fall probably is good.
Now, of course, Fozzy the band spent 20 years in Japan stranded, but of course you also did a lot of your training as a professional wrestler in Japan. Do you see a lot of echoes of what you were doing with stuff with teams like Team No Respect in stuff like Bullet Club, of course, huge, blowing up all over the place and has been for the last year. Do you see like a lot of echoes with the kind of stuff you were doing back then?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure I really understand the question.
I mean, you were in like a team that was based on sort of a lack of respect, which I suppose is...
It wasn't really all that organized. It was just kind of it's different, I think, from what the Bullet Club was, because we were 3 Japanese guys and one Canadian guy, American guy. So there was only 4 of us, and it was just more of it was the way that there was no T-shirts and there was no people cheering for us when we did it. It wasn't the cool thing to be into, like the Bullet Club is. This was a legit heel group that did legit heel things, and we didn't call ourselves Team No Respect. The fans did, and that's the difference, So it was a real heel thing with no redeeming qualities, nothing cool about it, no merchandise. So completely opposite of what the Bullet Club really is, from what I understand.
So do you see like a westernization of Japanese wrestling happening at the moment with teams like that? Or do you think there's like a landscape shifting over there?
I don't really know much about what's going on in Japan right now, but the whole system of what wrestling is based on the American style. So it's always has an Americanization of it. But still, it's always based around kind of the actual matches themselves, and the personalities are great, but people are really into the athletic contest.
Yeah.
And more just like to sit and watch the shows rather than, chant or, hold up signs or whatever. They're kind of more scientifically studying what you're doing there.
Yeah.
Those are the biggest differences. But still, I mean, pro wrestling came from the West. It's always got a Western slant to it, and it probably always will. But when you're wrestling in Japan, it's a little bit of a different animal, because like I said, it's more about the athletic competition of it rather than, the pomp and circumstance.
Now, we asked our fans to bombard us with questions for you, and by far the most popular one is about the Undisputed title. So I was wondering if you could give us like a bit of background knowledge on that, like how long was it before the event, Vengeance, that you knew it was going to be you? And was that always the plan? And how kind of down to the wire was the kind of decision-making on that?
I don't know. Like, I wrote a couple chapters about that in my second book, because it was really, I found out about the day of the show, literally that afternoon. And I'd heard maybe a couple rumors about it here and there, but you never know for sure. And I'd heard rumors that other people were going to get it as well. So it was not a big planned thing that you might expect, where there was like, plans drawn out and dates and all that sort of stuff. It was just whether it was a last minute decision or whether it was something that was in the plans for a while. I knew about it that afternoon.
Wow.
So that was basically it. And that's why whenever you find people that win titles or whatever, they'll have their family in the front row or friends in the front row. I didn't have anybody there because I never knew anything about it until that afternoon, exactly what was going to happen.
I mean, it was just coming off the tail end of the invasion angle. I mean, was the invasion angle supposed to kind of climax there at Survivor Series, or were there plans?
I don't know, dude. I think you know a lot more about it than I do from what it sounds like. When you're actually there, you don't really know what's going on day by day. So I have no idea if anything was supposed to happen. I just know I was just show up this week. What are we doing? Okay, what do we do next week? We show up and find out for that. So I don't think there was ever a real overall plan from one to lead to the other. And if there was, I certainly didn't know about it.
At what stage in your career do you think that you could start like kind of dictating where it was that you want your character to go? At what point did you sort of feel comfortable in like either WCW or WWF saying like, well, I know who Chris Jericho is and I feel like maybe this is the wrong way to go? Do you ever butt heads with creative in that way?
Well, I mean, you don't really have that right to until you earn the respect.
Oh, of course.
So I would say probably 2008 is when I could really start, figuring out what I wanted to do and have a lot of say in my storylines and angles. Before that, you really just do what you're told, and if you don't like it, you can off. You know what I mean? And that's basically it. So, and anybody that tells you differently is not telling the truth, because it really is until you earn the respect of Vince McMahon, you don't have any leverage. You don't. And you either do it or you don't. And if you don't do it, then you end up either not in the company anymore or you work your way down the card. So, and that's just the nature of the game. So it's not so much, standing up and being a rebel and saying, this is what I'm going to do. It's more like, okay, well, how can I make this as good as possible? And then once you do that long enough, making everything good, then you earn respect, and then you can start kind of interjecting and saying, well, here's my ideas and here's what I want to do. But don't kid yourself. Vince still always has the final say to this day. No one else is in charge of the company. It's Vince McMahon for every decision from bottom to top.
Speaking of your 2008 feud, that you were involved in the last TV14 pay-per-view, the last properly TV14 sanctioned match. Now, some people have come out, for example, I'm thinking of Batista and Mick Foley, saying that they think that the TV PG era is a little bit restrictive. Do you agree?
No. I think if you're a good performer, you make it good no matter what the rules are. I don't have to go out there and say son of a bitch and get color and dump, outhouses full of on a Vince McMahon to get over. I don't have to do that. And I think those guys might feel that way, but I think they're both great performers and they can make it work as well. So once again, your job as a performer is to take what you're given and make it work. And sometimes there's certain restrictions that you have, and sometimes those restrictions aren't there. But it really doesn't matter. You still have to make it work. That's your job. If you're handed a script in a Steven Spielberg movie, and the script calls you to, dance up and down on one foot in a clown suit, and you say no, then Steve goes, okay, fine, and then hires somebody else to do it. And it's the same type of thing in wrestling. People take it way too seriously sometimes. And if you're good and you're a good performer, you can make anything work. And I've subscribed to that for 20 years.
Across your career, you've worked with and feuded with some of the greats, Malenko, Benoit, Eddie, HBK. Would you say your 2008 feud is your favorite one? I'm sure they all have amazing aspects, but would that be the one that if you had to single one out?
Yeah, probably 2008 versus Shawn Michaels was probably the best feud. 2009 with Rey Mysterio was pretty good as well.
Course, yeah.
Those are probably my two favorite storylines from beginning to end. Feud connotates something different. This was an actual storyline that was told over the course of, in Shawn's case, 7 months, in Ray's case, 4 months.
They wanted the Shawn story to be shorter, didn't they? But you guys pushed for it to... One night?
Yeah, one night and maybe 1 month, I guess. One night turn and then blow it off the next week. And we thought we could do more with that. We didn't know we would be able to go all the way to the following November, but that's kind of what started in April, went to November. But that's just good chemistry and good storytelling.
You're one of the the few performers that some people regard as being at the top of his game as both a babyface and a heel. Which do you prefer? Which side of the coin?
I don't know. It's always easier to make people hate you than it is to make them like you. But then once they start liking you, it's really hard to make them hate you. So I just like I like either one as long as you can still get reactions and still feel like you're fresh and doing good work. Yeah. I've won the title 6 times as a heel and never once as a babyface. So I guess that tells you which I like better, maybe, if I had to really guess. But both are fun and both are very difficult to do you really have to be able to understand what it is that the fans are looking for in either case.
Yeah.
And like I said too, being a true heel is almost, you really got to commit to it. And a lot of guys don't now. To be a real, true heel, it's a hard thing, and you really have to be into it.
Yeah, some of your best heel antics, I've seen you like actively just trolling the crowd when you returned and said nothing, and also the famous hot tag where you danced around the ring and then just left. Those come from yourself, or do they come from like a conversation between you?
Very various places. I don't even remember. I mean, so much stuff happens from time to time. I don't remember where certain things come from, but and all that stuff in the ring. But outside the ring, I'm talking people attacking you on the streets. I'm talking, ignoring people when they're talking to you in a public place. I mean, if you want to be a real heel, merchandise, what's that? Magazines, why would I ever want to be in a magazine or on a website feature as a heel? No interviews allowed, nothing allowed, because if I'm a real heel, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't need to be in a magazine. I don't need to be on the cover of the W magazine. That. Why? Why do I need to be there?
Do you feel that like a lot of everyone's on Twitter now? Do you think that's compromised a lot of the ways that heels can get themselves heat?
No, because I mean, people know that you're playing a character. But if you go to the movies and you see, a great heel in in the new James Bond movie, that guy's not really gonna pull your eyes out and kill you. But on the screen, you believe it and buy into it, and that's a different story. We're playing parts here. This is not real life. So it's like an actor should have a Twitter page and a Facebook page, but you shouldn't be, talking about that when you're in the ring. It should be you're playing the character of whoever it is that you are, or on screen playing a character. And that's the difference. There's a character and there's a real person, but you're into that character. Everyone needs to believe that it's real.
Obviously, we're hoping it's a long time off, but do you have a perfect retirement match in your mind? Like
Never. There'll never be a retirement match. I'll never have one. When I'm finished, it might be a house show in Wolverhampton, but when I'm done, I'll know it, and that's it. There'll be no retirement tour, no retirement match, no big WrestleMania send-off. I don't believe in that either. I think when you're done, and I don't need somebody to pat me on the back and tell me how great I am. Mm-hmm. I'd rather just ride off into the sunset and just disappear, and that's probably what will happen. It might have already happened. You don't know.
Well, we're going to disappear now. Chris Jericho, thank you so much for talking to us. Boom! If we could edit that, you just disappearing in a cloud of smoke. That would be amazing. Thanks so much for talking to us.